What's going on, everybody? Welcome into College Football Now. I am your host, Joey Peterson, and today is one of the best days of the year. The bowl games get announced, the college football playoff ranking, college football playoff bracket gets set, and I'm here to dive into all 41 of the games that we've got coming up to round out our December, head into the new year in the best way possible. We're going to start with the college football playoff bracket, some awesome first round games. We have Ohio State, Tennessee facing off in the shoe. The winner of that game would then head on to take on Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Then we have Texas, Clemson playing in Dale K. Royal Stadium. The winner of that game will head over to take on Arizona State, the red hot Sun Devils in the Peach Bowl. Then on the other side, we have Notre Dame and Indiana, the Battle of Indiana, facing off in Notre Dame. The winner of that will take on the Georgia Bulldogs in our Sugar Bowl. And then to round out our first round, we've got Penn State taking on SMU. It's going to be a home game for Penn State. Rumor has it, and by rumor I mean they posted on Instagram, that game is going to be a whiteout, which will be exciting to see that for a playoff game. The winner of that will take on the number three seed Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. So now you got all the bracket right there. You see the names in it. You see who's in, who's out, who gets a bye. I want you guys to tell me who you have winning the college football playoff. First year of the 12-team playoff. Who's coming home a champion? Let's head into our first bowl game, the Salute to Veterans Bowl. This one's kicking off on December 14th, so just about 6 days from now, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. South Alabama is taking on Western Michigan and Montgomery, Alabama. Both teams had pretty awesome 2024 season, looking to capitalize on those with a bowl win. And then the Frisco Bowl, Toyota Stadium, Frisco, Texas. West Virginia taking on Memphis. Obviously some changes happening around West Virginia and the Mountaineers. They have a formidable opponent in those Memphis Tigers. That one's kicking off December 17th. Boca Raton Bowl, Western Kentucky, James Madison. James Madison, even through all the change, new head coach, a lot of new players that hit the portal, they scrapped together a pretty good season. They'll be taking on the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. That's going to be in Boca Raton, Florida, again, December 18th. We got the Cal Bears against the UNLV Rebels on December 18th in the LA Bowl. UNLV was close to winning a Mountain West championship. Obviously did not edge out Boise, and Boise got the nod in the college football playoff. Cal has had a pretty solid stadium. They'll be playing right in their backyard in Inglewood, California. And then the New Orleans Bowl, Georgia Southern against Sam Houston State. This one we played in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, December 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Georgia Southern with some quality wins on the season. Sam Houston State, can't say the same. It's going to be interesting to see who pulls out that one. I got a question for you guys before we head into the rest of our bowls. Are there too many bowl games? Right? We got bowls like the Cure Bowl, the Sports Bowl. It seems at some point we're kind of just making up bowls. I want you guys to let me know, are there too many? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's YouTube video. So you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a Y or an N. Up next is the aforementioned Cure Bowl, Jacksonville State, taking on Ohio, also known as Timothy Chalamet's favorite college football team. The Bobcats got a big win over Miami of Ohio. Now they look to take on Jacksonville State. One of my most highly anticipated bowl games, the Gasparilla Bowl, kicking off on December 20th. That'll be on ESPN, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We got Florida Gators against the Tulane Green Wave. Florida ended their season just about as strong as anybody could. And Tulane kind of did the opposite. This one's kicking off in Tampa Bay, Florida. Interesting to see if the Gators can continue that hot streak with DJ Lagway and company. Then we go over to South Carolina for the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Coastal Carolina taking on UTSA. I'm not going to say it's a little bit of a home field advantage for the Chanticleers, but it's a little bit of a home field advantage for the Chanticleers. Battle of the strange bird names. They're calling this one Conway, South Carolina. That's where it's kicking off. Christmas Eve, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Later on in that day, Northern Illinois against Fresno State. Northern Illinois, I'm sure, still beaming from their upset of Notre Dame earlier on in the season. They'll take on the Fresno State Bulldogs in Boise, Idaho, in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, one of my favorite names. That'll be a good one to watch on ESPN. ESPN. Christmas Eve, the Hawaii Bowl. I've always thought that whichever team gets to draw the Hawaii Bowl and gets an all-expenses trip paid to Hawaii just to play football, that's a lucky school. South Florida, San Jose State are those two. South Florida, Alex Golesh doing some really great things with them. Then San Jose State ended their season just as well as they could with a massive win. So that'll be a good one going down 8 p.m. Eastern time on Christmas Eve. I got to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is our friends over at PrizePicks. The best part about PrizePicks, guys, is it's so easy to play. You just pick more or less on player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. Like just a couple weeks ago on Thanksgiving, if Tyreek Hill got just 1 receiving yard, you won that square. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. Why? Because it's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Day after Christmas, we've got the Sports Bowl, December 26th, Pittsburgh against Toledo. That one's kicking off at Ford Field from Detroit, Michigan. Pitt had an up and down season, looking to close out 2024 in the best way possible with a win in a bowl game. And then that same day, we got Kansas State taking on Rutgers. Kansas State was one of those teams that was in the mix late in the Big 12, just like many of them were. Unfortunately, weren't able to pull it out and head to that Big 12 championship game, but they've got a chance to take on a pretty decent Big Ten opponent in Rutgers. They've had a pretty fine last couple years. This season was honestly better than I think most people expected up there in New Jersey. The 68 Ventures Bowl, this one will be kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern time against Arkansas State in Bowling Green. Red Wolves taking on Bowling Green in Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, looking to see who can end off their 2024 campaign the right way as they head into the 2025 season. The Armed Forces Bowl, only right that we see Navy in this one taking on Oklahoma. This one will be in Fort Worth, Texas. Really exciting to see how Oklahoma does with their amazing run defense against Navy. Obviously a military school. They pride themselves on being able to run the football. That one's going to be a good one, kicking off at 12 p.m. Eastern time on the 27th. Then, in the afternoon slate on that day, we got Vanderbilt against Georgia Tech. Again, another team that's pretty solid in stopping the run in Vanderbilt, and a team that's great at doing it with Brent Key and Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt had a lot of swag going on early with Diego Pavia. Unfortunately, injuries and just other circumstances has kind of held their later season games to not what they're wanting down in Nashville, so that'll be a fun one in Birmingham, Alabama. Liberty Bowl sees Texas Tech take on Arkansas, what seems like Arkansas's 10th Liberty Bowl in the last 15 seasons. That one kicking off in Memphis, Tennessee. Arkansas, they had some highlights this year, getting to beat Tennessee at home. They also had some lowlights as well, a couple of blowout losses against LSU, against Ole Miss. See if they'll be able to right the ship with Sam Pittman and company against Texas Tech. The Holiday Bowl, this one's on December 27th. In the night slot, 8 p.m. Eastern time, Washington State taking on Syracuse. Syracuse making matters exciting in the ACC at the end of the season, knocking off Miami to end their season, send Clemson to that ACC championship game, and ultimately into a playoff game. San Diego, California, where that one's kicking off. So quite the travel experience for Syracuse for that one. That one's on December 27th. Even later that night, the Las Vegas Bowl, Allegiant Stadium, you're seeing USC taking on Texas A&M. USC is an interesting case study for the 2024 season. They had the lead in the fourth quarter in every single one of their games except their final one against Notre Dame, and yet season didn't end quite like they wanted. You could say the same for Texas A&M losing late to Auburn and against Texas. That'll be a fun showdown in Las Vegas, USC against Texas A&M. I want you to be honest with me. We're outlining them all right here, all 41 of them. How many of these are you going to watch? Are you just going to tune into the big ones, or are you a sicko like me and you're going to watch every second of every one of these? You let me know in the comment section down below. Then we got the Fenway Bowl kicking off early on December 28th. UConn versus North Carolina. No, they are not playing basketball. They will be playing football again in Fenway Park. Excited to see that one showdown for North Carolina in their interim head coach stage. The Pinstripe Bowl, it's just a day of baseball on December 28th. Boston College taking on Nebraska in the Bronx, Yankee Stadium. Nebraska had a pretty solid season. They had a chance to win some pretty big games that they just couldn't come away with. You like to think that's kind of in due part to having a freshman year quarterback. Things should look up in 2025. They'll be able to see if they can end out 2024 with a win against Boston College. New Mexico Bowl, you got the Raging Cajuns against the TCU Horned Frogs kicking off at 2:15 on December 28th. Sonny Dykes and company trying to take on the Louisiana Raging Cajuns in a way they weren't really able to do many other opponents this year. TCU had an up and down season and did things on the right foot with a couple of wins late. However, they'll have a formidable opponent in the Raging Cajuns. Again, that one on December 28th. The bowl that everybody's been waiting for the last 360 some odd days, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the fan favorite from the 2023 bowl season. This time sees Miami, Iowa State, of course, in Orlando, Florida. Both of these teams had really high hopes going late in the season. Neither of them were able to pull off conference championships, make it to the playoff, but they'll be playing for something even more special in this one. That's, of course, to a real live Pop-Tart. Then the Arizona Bowl, Tucson, Arizona, where this one's kicking off, December 28th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Miami of Ohio trying to come across that brutal loss to Ohio to the end of their season against Colorado State. Should be a fun one. And then, of course, later on in that day, NC State against Eastern Carolina. The battles of the Carolina, as they're saying it, in the Military Bowl. NC State, their season didn't go quite as they expected to. Casey Concepcion, they got a lot of talent in that offense surrounding him. However, they just weren't able to string across the wins like they were expecting to throughout the season, and they'll take on East Carolina on December 28th. If you love college football, I promise you we've got you covered right here on College Football Now by Chat Sports, so don't miss this opportunity. Stay close to the channel and hit that subscribe button. Then we've got the Alamo Bowl, San Antonio, Texas, and the Alamo Dome, BYU Cougars against Colorado. Two Big 12 teams facing off, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on December 28th. Coach Prime and company had a pretty solid bounce back from their last year. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. We'll see how he ends this season with his Heisman campaign, see if he is able to hoist that trophy. They'll be taking on the Cougars on ABC. The Independence Bowl, that same day, just later that night, sees Army against Marshall. Army was a one-loss team throughout the entirety of the 2024 season. Their quarterback play was phenomenal, which is not something you're used to saying about military academies. But you can say that with confidence with Army. Of course, they'll still have one more game to go before they take this one on as they play Navy this upcoming weekend. The Music City Bowl, Nashville, Tennessee, Nissan Stadium, Iowa against Missouri. Missouri was only a 3-loss team. However, they weren't regarded as one of the higher-ranked 3-loss SEC teams just because of their strength of schedule. Iowa was able to do some good things late. It'll be interesting to see how that one fares off December 30th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The ReliaQuest Bowl, it's a semifinals 2023, or I guess 2024, rematch between Alabama and Michigan in Tampa Bay, Florida. The Crimson Tide looking to get their revenge on the Michigan Wolverines, who knocked out their championship hosts last season. Michigan ended their season just the best way any Michigan fan could hope, knocking off the Ohio State Buckeyes on the road. And now they'll see if they can do that same thing to the Crimson Tide. The Sun Bowl, New Year's Eve, Louisville, Washington, Sun Bowl Stadium in El Paso, Texas. Louisville had some good wins on the season, like against Clemson. They also had some bad losses on the season. A close one against Miami was one of those. They're taking on the Washington Huskies. Will Rogers and company and Jed Fish looking to take on a solid Louisville team. And in their season, the right way as they head into the transfer portal time of the year. The Citrus Bowl, Illinois, Brett Bielema, the Fighting Illini take on South Carolina in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. South Carolina ended their season just about as hot as any team in the country, and they got to be thinking, man, if just a couple of things went differently in the beginning, they might be vying for a playoff spot. Alas, they're taking on Illinois at Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida, New Year's Eve, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. 30 minutes after that one kicks off, we've got the Texas Bowl featuring Baylor and LSU, NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas. Baylor, another team kind of like South Carolina, ended off their season in a way that they can be proud of going into 2025. They got a true QB1 at quarterback, finished with the 5th best QBR in the country, taking on LSU. Garrett Nussmeier, Brian Kelly. Season didn't go as planned. Season didn't go as hoped. But they'll have a chance to end off their season the right way against Baylor. Then the Gator Bowl. We get into the new year, 2025. Duke against Ole Miss, Everbank Stadium, Jacksonville, Florida. Lane Kiffin went from complaining on Twitter to now having to face the 3rd, 4th, 5th best team in the ACC. Funny how life comes at you fast, Lane. That one's kicking off January 2nd, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The First Responders Bowl. North Texas, Texas State, JLJ Ford Stadium, University Park, Texas. North Texas. They didn't have quite the season they were expecting to back up from their 2023-2024 campaign, but they'll have a chance to take on a Texas State team that did some good things down there in San Marcos. The Battle of the Texases, that one's kicking off January 3rd. The Duke's Mayo Bowl. Which coach is going to get dumped by a Gatorade jug full of mayo? Is it going to be Virginia Tech? Is it going to be Minnesota? They're facing off Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium. Minnesota's one of the better multi-loss teams in the Big Ten, played a lot of teams close. Unfortunately, weren't able to pull out many of those games, but they'll have a chance against a really good Virginia Tech team. And if you're not going to go to Hawaii, might as well go to the Bahamas as Liberty takes on Buffalo in the 2nd best bowl game of the year. The Flames looking to take on Buffalo and end out their season with a win for the final regular season, non-championship bowl game of the year. You heard all the bowls. You heard a lot of the teams. I want you to shout out your favorite team in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for joining us. I am your host, Joey Peterson. This has been College Football Now, and let's enjoy this bowl season. Let's kick it off right by liking the video.